Welcome to Fight Waves. Audio Journeys by Kung Fu Academic.
If you just visit Hong Kong, you learn something, but it's not until you actually live there with the Chinese masters or like the Hong Kong masters, they would stop being so nice to you, because then you are not guest anymore. Now they start being mean to you, or they can really like tell you, oh, you know what, like your Kung Fu is actually shit. And it's different, you know, like once you are not a tourist anymore, things get much harder.
I'm Verca Partikova, and I would like to take you behind the scenes of fighting, living in a training camp in Thailand, and my lifelong journey through the martial arts. I am the Kung Fu academic, earned my PhD in sports psychology, after which I decided to leave academia to become a professional fighter. Step with me into the ring to share the raw reality, the continuous search for mental strength, and all the ups and downs.
Hi, I know it's been a while. I have been resettling in my creative mode, and there was also lots of life changes. I have moved my location in Thailand, and I changed my gym and my team. So now I'm back creating and writing and taking videos, editing and doing this podcast. So here we go. There are some news, but it's not officially confirmed, but I'm in a fight camp again. So just waiting for it to be confirmed. But today we are not talking about my MMA fights. Today, actually, I want to look at some of the things that I didn't like about my Kung Fu training, especially like in the past. That's why I say didn't. When I think of the time when I was training as a student, or just starting, or like the first 10 years of my training. So just to give you a quick intro, if this is the first episode that you are listening and you have no idea who I am. So I am from the Czech Republic, and I've been living in Asia for the past 10 years. I started training martial arts in 1999, and it was karate and then Kung Fu. And Kung Fu became a big topic of my life. It was the thing that actually decided lots of things for me, like directions of what I want to study, where I want to live, and so on. And I competed as well at like some high-level competitions, like Europeans, World Championships, and so on. And then 10 years ago, I moved to Hong Kong because of Kung Fu training, to learn from my Sifu, Wong Chun Man, the style called Hungar. I already trained in the Czech Republic, but this was a big change. So I got my backpack and I just moved over. And of course it was everything. It was difficult, it was amazing, it was lonely, it was meeting so many amazing people. And then 3 years ago, I moved to Thailand because during the time I was in Hong Kong, I actually started training and fighting MMA. So I moved to Thailand, and then I became a professional MMA fighter. So that's a little bit of who I am. I'm also a coach of Kung Fu, Hungar Kung Fu, and I coached in both Czech Republic and in Hong Kong. Kids, adults, like university programs and so on. You know why Kung Fu actually was such like a big impact on my life? I was training karate, and it for some, like this is something you need to understand. So my country was not like open to everything for a long period of time. And when I was a kid, there was basically just judo and karate as an option. And most of the teachers or coaches or senseis, they haven't really like got in touch with the source. Like they never been to Japan or or train like with the highest level of people, because that just wasn't possible at the time. And so the problem was that after some like years of training, I reached my black belt. So after I think 8-9 years of training, I realized that I'm like missing something, that it's not so in depth as I wish it to be, and that's not the fault of the style, but it was like the level of the information we got that time. So that's what brought me to Kung Fu. And then when I started with Hungar Kung Fu, I realized how many layers they are. And then when I moved to Hong Kong, it was like total different new world for me to see like how the overreach, into culture and into philosophy and mindset and like lifestyle, the depth of the knowledge, and like how smart it is. And it really like made me who I am as a person. So it's hard to see like where it's me and where it's the martial art. Like it's like blended. It's really like created me as a person. So when I studied, when I started training it, so it was already, I wasn't new to martial arts. I was already some almost 10 years in training. But when I started with Kung Fu, with Hungar Kung Fu, there were like few things that I didn't like. And maybe at that time I wasn't really aware of it. But now, especially with like my experience from like full contact fighting and like seeing the world, when I look back, I can really like define some things. So there are 3 things I would like to point out. So the first thing is methods. So coming from the karate background, karate is very analytical. So as a kid, I remember I had a folder of stances and directions and timings, like what are different timing of attack, or things like that. So like everything was very like, you have like option 1 and there is 1A, 1B, 1C, and then you have option 2, and you can divide 2 again into A and B and C and D and E, and then you have option 3, and you can pair up 1 and 3, and then you can pair up 2 and 4, and then things like that. And it was amazing to learn this and to have this kind of experience, because then I got into Kung Fu, and like Chinese way of teaching is totally different. So especially like lots of foreigners that I can see like around the world, the trend is to teach just like based on the forms, because the routine, or like if in karate it's kata, so we have taolu or kyun in Kung Fu, based on like depending on like if we are talking like southern or northern Chinese style, then we call it different term. But so these routines, these forms, they are like very important blocks of training. Like it's like a set of movements, right? And there are also kind of like levels of difficulty, because as you grow in your style, no matter like what style you practice, you are learning like more and more difficult forms. So as we don't really have belts in Chinese martial arts, then lots of people use forms as like kind of like stepping stones. And then you see them teach the forms as the only thing. And there are no other methods. Like the form is it. But there is so much more. Where is the technical training? Where is like the footwork training? The not only standing in the stances, but also the way how you move, the way how you generate power, or the biomechanics, applications, drills, maybe sparring, lots of other things. And then I see it especially now with like online coaching, that lots of programs, they just offer you to learn a form, and then if you pay, you know, this one program, then you learn one form, and then you get 1 hour video, and there you go. And I'm like, where's the pedagogy? You know, where are the methods? And it's very often in like Chinese martial arts, in Kung Fu, because the way of teaching is not as especially in my experience, is not as developed as like in like the modern martial arts, like for example, I don't know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or maybe in karate, as I mentioned, it's like it felt to me so analytical. But of course, there are people who are very good in terms of methods and coaching and pedagogy and teaching, explaining, and like putting curriculums together and like leading you through the session, that you actually like connect the dots. So it's important to mention that there are people like that, but it's not the standard. And then a typical training method in Kung Fu is repetition, right? So you just keep repeating things, and you keep repeating them like until failure. And if you ever been in like, if you have even like a little education in fitness industry, then any program based on going until failure, you'll just like, you know, like facepalm yourself. I just did that, so that's the sound you heard. Because that's not a good method, you know. So you just keep going until you can't anymore. Well, that's great. Thank you, coach. So that's one thing. That's one thing I have been actually like fighting against recently, like last, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years. Yeah, more like decade, I guess. To like put like real like methods in the game where you actually have a goal, right? The goal can be whatever, from like learning how to change the direction in your stances, or learning how to like not flare your elbow when you punch. And then you can come up with, or I do come up with like methods how to actually teach you this, or how to use like different like tools. Like now when I coach online, I can't really be there, so I think of like how to use elastic bands, or how to use cones, or how to use like mobile phone applications, because like we are in the modern times, right? To actually like correct these things, to like get to the goal. So like the method is supposed to get you to the goal, to like correct something, to like teach you something. So that's one thing that I didn't like. Second thing was that lots of the times I felt like the teaching is not holistic. That means when I moved to Hong Kong, suddenly there was like so much Kung Fu culture around it. Not only like the training, so you come to the gym and then you train, you do some movements, you know, you move your body, you feel healthier, stronger, whatever. But also like that kind of like relationships you build with the people there, that kind of like family hierarchy that you had there, or like just the fact that like Kung Fu was everywhere, like in the background of the life. Like there was like an advertisement like on a billboard or something, and there was maybe some kind of joke using Kung Fu, and everyone was like, oh yeah, that's normal, you know, it's like part of their lives. But then like one example that I always love to give is, so often I had dinners with my sifu, with my teacher, and so usually the person who is the most valuable or valued at the table, or like the most senior, or like the host, would be the one pouring the tea. And my sifu, he always, and it's not a service, it's more like taking care of the guests. You know, you don't do it because you have to, you do it because you are providing some care. And sifu loved to do that, and also he loved to drink tea a lot, so he loved to have like the pot next to his hand so he can like keep pouring, because otherwise he would just to wait for me to pour the tea for him. So he was always the person pouring the tea, and he loved to do that. And then one time there was like a group of foreigners visiting, and if you just visit Hong Kong, you learn something, but it's not until you actually live there when you realize that things are a bit different, because the Chinese masters or like the Hong Kong masters, they would stop clapping or like giving you applaud for like your training, or they would stop being so nice to you, because then you are not guest anymore. Now they start being mean to you. They can be mean to you, or they can really like tell you, oh, you know what, like your kung fu is actually shit. And it's different, like once you are not a tourist anymore, things get much harder. And so there was this group of people visiting, and we were at the restaurant, and so we had like the foreigners table where I was sat as well, and then the Chinese table. And Sifu was like, oh yeah, go and like, serve them the tea. So I did. And there was not even like, so usually when someone pours you tea, you would like tap your fingers on the table to say like, thank you. There is a story behind it, but I wouldn't get into it now. And it's like, you really like thank the person that he's like serving the tea to you. And so when I did, not only that, no one really like said thank you, but there was no like an eye contact, because they thought like I'm serving them. I'm like the servant, that my Sifu sent me to be a servant, but no, he sent me to be the host, like kind of like in the parent mode, not in the kid's mode, if it makes sense. Another thing is, when I used to have a dinners with my Sifu, the first time I moved to Hong Kong, he would always order shrimps, and I since I'm Czech, we don't have sea or ocean, so shrimps for me were like kind of like new, and I wasn't really like keen to eat them. But he always ordered them, and then he would say, oh, I don't like them, you eat them, you have them. And I wasn't like, I wanted to be polite, so I didn't tell him that, Sifu, I don't actually like shrimp. So I ate them all every time. And it took several weeks until I found out that he actually loves them, but he wants me to have them because I'm the guest. And he was taking care of me. That's the story of how I learned how to kind of like shrimps. So now we have like a neutral relationship with shrimps. So lots of like these things, are part of the Kung Fu culture, like how you treat others, how you also treat yourself. And so sometimes I feel like Kung Fu is taught as like I don't want to say sport, because sport is very like, it's not just about movement. It gives you lots of things about like the way how you treat yourself, how you behave, how you think. Like it's much more than that. So it's not really like, it's not a bad thing to call Kung Fu a sport. But I just want to say, maybe better if I say it like that. I feel sometimes Kung Fu is taught as a movement only, without like the rest. And I feel like the rest is often the reason why people come to Kung Fu, because they want to do more than just move their bodies. So I try to like teach like that too. I record like videos, like mini lectures where I teach my students about like different terms of like in Chinese, or like different stories that are like part of the Kung Fu narratives, or also like the mindset, because I feel like this is also an important topic and not really like originally part of Kung Fu, but since my education, I got a degree in sports psychology, a doctoral degree, and my own anxiety, and then my experience with like full contact fighting. This topic is like very close to me, and I work with my mind a lot. So I feel like this is something that I can also like give. So I try to make it like a whole package. So, but it's true that without actually having the experience in Hong Kong of how big Kung Fu actually is, like what all the topics it includes, and then seeing or experiencing not having it brought me to now where I can teach it in this like more holistic way. And the last thing is another thing, the third thing I didn't like about training, when I saw teachers or coaches or sifus not being fit. So now we are talking about the 90s. When I just started with karate, it was very common that the sensei was like a guy in his mid-30s with a big belly and, you know, the black belt kind of like holding the belly. And that was normal, and nobody was questioning it. And like those people were young, like 30, 35, 40. I'm 36 right now, and I'm a professional athlete. And now I see around me or again online people who are coaching and they are not healthy, they are not fit, they don't look strong. Like, what happened? We always say that Kung Fu is for health, but is your body as a teacher the proof of that? So my Sifu, he's in his 60s and he can perform like when he was younger. I saw like his old videos. Of course, he's probably slower, but other than that, you wouldn't see much difference. And like he's in great condition. So that's like an experience or like a memory that I have, that when I was training as a kid or as a teenager in karate and then in Kung Fu, that it was really common for people not to be healthy or not to be fit or not to be strong, because it was like, it wasn't really like the full package of like also thinking of what do you eat? What do you eat before training? It's like people were saying, oh, I don't go to the gym, like a fitness gym, because I'm like, I'm a martial artist, so I need to be fast. You know, if I go to the gym, I will gain muscles and then I'm slow, so I can't do that. And now we know, of course, it's not true. It's stupid. There are things you do in the gym to be bulk, to like bulk up, to be big. But there are also things you do there to be fast and to be strong. You need to be strong for like for whatever. That's like, you know, your first stepping stone. To be strong, to be healthy, and so of course you need to spend some time on your fitness, on your strength and conditioning. So that's another thing that I didn't like, and that also brought me why now when I coach or even in my online coaching, not only like my students get like their Kung Fu session, but they also get like mobility routines to do, like different variations to warm up, because when you just, you know, start stretching, that's not a warm up. That's not a warm up. So some mobility routines, and then some prehabilitations, which is like rehabilitation, but you do it before an injury happens, like to avoid the injury. That's why I like prehabilitation. And then also strength and conditioning, because it's important if you want to be healthy and you're training Kung Fu or any martial arts to be healthy and to like have to improve your life, you need to also like work on your strength and on your cardio and so on. So that's 3 things I didn't like about training. Hopefully it helped me to like explain what I actually love about training. And there is a blog article coming out next week about 10 things I love about Kung Fu training. So you're welcome to come and have a look on my website. And please follow me on my social media, Instagram and Facebook, YouTube, and check out my website. You can also subscribe for my newsletter, where I send out new articles or training videos or news. And also you can see my online coaching program. And that's it. Have a wonderful day, evening, morning. Bye.